Beth here to help me out, and look forward to having some discussion and hearing your ideas when I'm done with my presentation. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Beth. Let me see. I am just here to help Margaret today with any technical. So I will also be keeping an eye on the chat. So there'll be a Q&A at the end, but please feel free to, add comments to it. I will be turning off everybody's video and everybody's muted during the presentation. I hope you guys enjoy.
Beth, shall I just plan to get started right at 4? Shall we wait a couple more minutes? I have not sure how you've been doing things today.
It's 3:59. I've started the recording. So
okay.
You want to go? It's 4 o'clock. So let's get started.
All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Margaret Woodruff, and I'm the director of the library, the Charlotte Library in Charlotte, Vermont. So nice to see you all. And if you want to put in the chat where you're from, that would be great to know as well. So I'm going to be talking about rural libraries in the slipstream, and SLIP stands for Sustainable Libraries in Practice. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll be so interested to hear your ideas and thoughts when I'm done. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here so you can all see what I want to show you. And hope this works. Here we are. And from the beginning. Come on. There we go. Can everybody see that? If you can't, I guess you can let Beth know in the chat, but I'll assume that everybody is all set.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, great. So Beth has started the recording for me. Thank you. And you all have your audio and video turned off. And thanks again for joining me for this program. We started the recording and you can see the founding partner for this great mini conference, and also the additional support from California Libraries Learn. So I'm glad that they're supporting it because I'm excited to share this topic with you all today. So here we go. Rural libraries in the slipstream. Where I'm from, as I mentioned, I'm from Charlotte, Vermont, which is just south, about 20 or so miles south of Burlington on Lake Champlain. It is a rural combination of a rural and a bedroom community. There's still quite a few farms here, but it's also a lot of people who work at the medical center and at UVM live in Charlotte as well. However, the one interesting thing about libraries in Vermont is that almost all of the 183 libraries that exist here would be defined as a small library if you go by the IMLS definition of a service population of less than 25,000 people. Only Burlington has a larger population than that. So that can present somewhat of a challenge sometimes for resources. In addition, Vermont libraries operate independently with no state regulation or regular state funding. We develop our own budgets and policies, and our library boards function separately. This can create opportunities to try new projects, but at the same time can leave libraries without the framework and support to move forward. I should add that our Department of Libraries here in Vermont is fabulous. It's just by state mandate, they're not able to give us any direct funding. So they are so helpful with grants and whatnot, but we are all independent to our communities. So I feel like this offers a perfect case for sustainability. It seems to me that this is such an obvious fit for what we should be doing with our libraries. And yet, if, you know, depending on your shape and your size, how can we begin? And that is certainly something that we have tried to work with here at my library in Charlotte. So here is the porch of my library. We just recently completed a renovation. It was finished up in the spring of this year, which was really lucky timing in terms of getting the work done, but not so fortunate in terms of being able to share our fabulous new space with the community. Our community is about 3,700 people, and we have about 3,000 card holders. So we really have a good library use in our town, for which we are very grateful. The expansion I mentioned allowed us to add a much needed program room and a dedicated children's room, which we hadn't had prior to the expansion. In addition, we were able to incorporate some sustainable practices into the design, and that included upgrades to heating. So we now operate all on heat pumps, which we are told will get us through the cold Vermont winters. And I guess we'll find out shortly, but all seems to be going well so far. There were also upgrades to the insulation in the old part of the building, and very environmentally friendly windows and insulation were included in the new part of the building, which resulted in a net zero energy cost of the new addition, which is great. So we're really glad that we were able to sort of include some sustainable ideas and practices right in the very library that we are in. And sustainability, it's a great idea. I think that's why we're all here. And I feel like we can do this and we all need to do this. Right now at the Charlotte Library, we use sort of sustainable practices, such as I mentioned with our building, for programs and planning. And the library board and staff here, we are all very willing and enthusiastic. But I feel like we need a framework and some formal planning to move forward. I would love to model something after the New York State Sustainable Libraries Initiative and determine a robust structure that would give us some guidelines. But at the same time, I feel like for small and rural libraries, as perhaps you all know, being in them yourselves, it also needs to be very flexible and accommodate all different kinds of situations. One thing that I think could be really great coming out of some more concrete sustainability guidelines is some benchmarks. So we could have some best practice benchmarks within our communities, within the library community, so that we would all be able to sort of get a sense of where we are in terms of sustainable practices. And also there could be benchmarks within our own communities, our own towns and villages, so that we can support and model sustainable practices. One example would be having your library designated as the second site for emergency management teams in the event of some kind of weather crisis, that emergency crews could know that the library is a place they can come to get reliable Wi-Fi and manage their communications and that kind of thing. So here are some current efforts in sustainability that we've done at the library. As I mentioned, we have sort of a very informal understanding of this, and I think that together with our enthusiasm has enabled us to do these few things, and we certainly hope that we will be doing more in the future. So the first one is called Ahead of the Storm, This was a project that was developed by our local watershed organization, the Lewis Creek Association. You can see there on the logo, to develop stormwater resilience demonstration sites in 3 neighboring towns, Charlotte, where I am, Shelburne, and Heinsberg, so that people in town could visit the sites and get an idea of what they might do to help mitigate stormwater runoff, which is a real problem, especially for those communities like ours that are near Lake Champlain. So the photo you see here is the old driveway. So before our addition was put on, this is how you would enter the library. In order to comply with the ahead of the storm design, and also to offset the stormwater runoff of our new addition, it was decided that we would put in this rain garden. So this is the removal of the driveway, the excavation of the driveway, that will allow our garden planning team, to put in a rain garden. And we are in the process of planning that right now. In fact, the rain barrels that will manage the runoff from our roof just arrived today. So that is one exciting sort of started a while ago back in 2015, and it's really nice for us to finally see the fruits of that project here at the library. The next project that we've done here at the library is the Charlotte Seed Library. I'm sure most of you are familiar with seed libraries, but just in case you're not, this is a situation, we're using old library card catalog drawers, where we have a collection of seeds and people can come and check out small packets of seeds, take them home in the spring, plant them in their garden. If they get a good harvest, we invite them to save some of the seeds and bring them back so that we can return those back to the catalog and continue to make seeds available to others in our community. And it's been a really great sort of passive program, but what's been really great and an extra bonus is that the 2 women who coordinate this have also built in some related programming. So as you can see here, we have done a project on getting the most from your vegetable garden. We also had a composting 101 program, invasive species control, and earth-friendly pest control were also programs that started. And then what grew out of that was the development of the library education gardens that are being installed around the old and new portions of our renovated library. And we're fortunate enough to partner with the UVM Extension Master Gardeners for that project. So it will receive sort of the oversight and maintenance that it needs that we as library staff might not be able to provide. The third program, another ongoing program for us, is Climate Change Conversations. The photos you see here are from a PLACE-funded grant that we received for a 3-part science cafe book group program, and to discuss climate change and how it relates to our specific community. We were able to draw on some local experts and use the resources recommended from the grant site, and had a really lively set of conversations. And even better, this really paved the way for other topics and activities to happen here at the library. Hosting this let people know that we were interested in this topic as an institution, and that we wanted to hear about other ideas that people might have. So this paved the way for other programs, everything from water quality. We had a 3-part series on well water. Almost everybody in Charlotte is on well water, to stormwater runoff related to the Ahead of the Storm project, to the writings of Wendell Berry, to a permaculture workshop series. So it's really taken off. We also did a solar oven program for kids using pizza boxes. So it's really sort of laying this ground has really sparked a lot of new ideas in ways that I don't think we could have imagined. And we're very grateful for the input we've had from the community. Excuse me. Our newest program is our Conservation Corner, and this grew out of a fossil-free jamboree that happened in conjunction with our annual book sale a couple of years ago. And the Energy Committee, which put on the jamboree, gave us a grant to purchase some print and other resources to include in this Conservation Corner. You can see a few of them here. We have an infrared heat gun, so that you can test for leaks around your windows, walls, and doors to make sure that your house is as insulated as well as it could be. We just got a moisture meter from the Agency of Natural Resources for people to test their firewood to make sure that it is dry enough to burn safely in their wood stove or fireplace. So that's a really nice new addition to our series of programs. The last series of programs that we did sort of in this under this umbrella of sustainability was a series also ongoing called Supporting a Healthy Community Head to Toe. And this was aimed at addressing the issues of mental health and physical health impacts of climate change. I think we're all aware of the necessity for providing resilience education at the earliest stages. Certainly, the situation we're in right now has underscored the need for support and guidance along those lines. And similarly, the changing weather patterns that we're all experiencing continue to affect our lives in ever more significant ways. And so we're looking at how climate change is impacting our area and also how we might support efforts to mitigate that in our communities as well. We were fortunate enough to get some funding from the National Network of Libraries of Medicine to put this series together, and we hope to continue it in the future once we're up and running a little bit more. So, as I'm sure you all know, no programs you do can happen without help from others in the public library world, and we are fortunate enough to have a really terrific set of collaborators. In our town, we've drawn on our local elementary school, our Conservation Commission, the Energy Committee that I mentioned before, and the Charlotte Senior Center as well. Sort of community-wide organizations that we've worked with include the local Congregational Church, our food shelf, the Charlotte Grange, and our Transition Town section here in Charlotte. Excuse me. And then sort of casting a bit of a wider net, we've worked with our Slow Food state chapter, Slow Food Vermont. We've worked with some local farms in the area. We've worked with the Vermont Department of Health and the Vermont Department of Natural Resources as well. And they've all proved to be really valuable in offering their insight and expertise, in some cases financial support, but certainly helping us get the word out about our programs and participating as well. So collaboration, I think, is the key. But as I mentioned, I feel like our success with these programs has largely been a serendipitous situation. We've happened to be in the right place at the right time. Sustainability sort of first came onto our radar screen here in Charlotte after some of us attended the Midwinter Conference in Boston a few years ago. Went to the sustainability roundtable meetings there and learned exactly what sustainability in libraries, which once you hear about it, it seems like such a natural match, what it was all about. We continue to work with everybody from our own energy committee to the American Library Association Sustainability Task Force. And I feel that we've been able to cultivate a culture here at the library and be open to new program ideas and sort of develop what one of my colleagues called a brain bank, or a list of people and resources that can help us as we continue. However, I feel like we really need to look at how to make sustainability sustainable. How can we move forward and make it so that we are able to offer these programs on a more regular, continuous, and institutional basis. This quote is from Rebecca Smith Aldrich's book, Sustainable Thinking. What the world needs most right now is what libraries are already very good at. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think we all need some more support and to support each other to make these things happen. Certainly, if we're going to continue with this, we would want to be rooted. Sustainability leads one to think of the Sustainable Development Goals, which were first enacted in 2015 and put into effect in January of 2016. It is quite an ambitious list of factors to take into account, but I believe that they're realistic and relatable. I think there are instances of most of these in our own communities, and certainly I don't think any one of us could be prepared to take on all 17 at once, but I think they can be a really good set of factors to consider when we're looking at working on developing sustainable programs. And I think that any framework would certainly want to be built on these sustainable development goals as well. So sustainability and resilience are two terms that sometimes go hand in hand, and I think that they in fact match up quite well when you're looking at libraries. We are the sort of model of sustainability in terms of reusing and recycling, and I think we're showing ourselves to be quite resilient given the pandemic and how we've all sort of rallied to continue to serve our communities despite the roadblocks that are put in front of us. So here are some of the factors that overlap when you look at sustainability and resilience. Local matters, it makes a difference, you know, look at the place and context of things, and also realize that what might work for one place isn't going to work for another, sort of harkening back to the notion of flexibility that I talked about a little bit earlier. And I think working together is essential. I think that is within our communities, but also library to library and library to other groups and organizations in our towns, in our states, and across the country. I think we in the library know how critical it is to recognize and value diversity, and that, you know, different voices being heard, helping all be heard, is what can lead to the most robust and resilient community that we are looking for. So one of the projects that we are looking to start is, and I'm hoping that this will help give us some structure and framework to our ongoing sustainability work, is called Driving the Car. And CAR, since I like acronyms, stands for Community Action for Resilience. And we've, since March, a group of us here in my small town have been meeting to make sure that community need is being met in terms of food, heating resources, housing, jobs, mental health support, all of those kinds of things. This group has included people from both the churches in our town, our Grange, the emergency management team, our local fire and rescue, some local businesses as well. And our local food shelf. So we would meet and talk about these very specific instances and how we could help meet those needs. But it soon became clear that there were some larger issues and some bigger needs that we might need to think about addressing as a town. And so we came up with this idea of a community resilience assessment. We'll be working with an organization that's based here in Vermont called Community Resilience Organizations. This group grew out of the aftermath of Hurricane Irene, which really devastated several towns in our state. And it was seeing which communities were able to bounce back most effectively and quickly, and what did they have in common, and this notion of community resilience, what exactly did that mean? So we've been fortunate enough to work with folks at community resilience organizations to put together this assessment that will ask a wide range of questions on everything from public health to environmental health to food insecurity to school learning. And we're hopeful that we can, get our network spread out so we can get a really wide-ranging response to this and have some really useful information for our next step, which is learning how to drive the car. And this will be when we go over the results of the assessment and offer some analysis. We're hoping that we'll be able to have some community-wide conversations talking about sort of what rose to the top in terms of what's going really well in our town that we want to continue to support, and what might need some more work or even just some more publicity so people would know what kinds of things are happening here in Charlotte and where they could get the help they need. And the last step, would be how to map our journey. And when we figure out what's risen to the top, how are we going to manage our responses so that we can be a self-reliant and strong community that we need and we want. We are planning some resilience encounters to highlight these. You can see an example of one of them right here. We sort of did a prequel. This is, got a Charlie Cart portable kitchen. And if anybody's looking for a portable kitchen kind of thing, this is fabulous. And here are two of our great volunteers doing a dilly bean canning demonstration out in the parking lot, socially distanced. This happened last month and was really well received. So we'll be doing some programs like that as we continue with our assessment and sort of sharing the word about that. So I truly believe all roads, to continue my metaphor of learning how to drive, lead to sustainability. And I think we just need to let everyone know in our towns, in the library infrastructure, that we believe in this, we need this, we can do it, but we really need to do it together. So that's about it. I'd love to know if anybody has any questions or comments. Thanks so much.
Hi, Margaret. Wendy had a question during your presentation regarding the seed program. She was wondering if you guys have any problems with mice and how you store them.
Oh, we haven't had any problems with mice yet. Touch wood, I guess. But it's we've been pretty careful, and the seeds, when they're not here during the winter, they go to someone's house and stay there in sort of a cold storage area that is mouse proof. So that might be why we've been pretty lucky so far.
And then it looks like Chelsea has a question in the chat. I'm wondering if you started by thinking about sustainability first and then created all of these programs, or if you decided sustainability was important to your library and then looked at the existing programs.
Oh, I think it was sort of a combination. I think we all are doing a lot of sustainable things just by virtue of working in a library setting. And I think it was so it was a combination. It was becoming aware of sustainability and looking at our existing programs through that lens, sort of becoming aware of sustainability in a more formal way. And then at the same time, you being more intentional about planning sustainable programs too. And I think once you start doing one, the other one kind of falls into place.
Okay, and then there's just several people saying that they enjoyed all your ideas.
Somebody asked about the conservation corner. If you have an energy committee in your town or anything like that, that would be a good place to start for a conservation corner. Or if there's any sort of energy efficiency groups at a state level, depending on where you live, then you can connect with them. And we've found that people are very excited to be able to share their information with communities, and that they feel a library is a good place to do that. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for listening. And I would love to hear from anybody if they have any ideas. I don't know what the best way to get in touch with people is. Can they do that through the conference, Beth, or should I
And they
can
should
put my...
Yeah, we could go ahead and add your email if you
Sure.
would like that.
Yep.
There was one other question about, do you use an assessment tool for these programs?
Oh, yes, we have done some. We've used the Public Library Association survey model and then tweaked it a little bit, customized it for our particular situation. And that has been very helpful. Yep.
Great. Okay, so Margaret has added her email address for everybody. So last in the chat.
Great, thank you so much. It was so nice to share this with you, and I'll hope to hear from you. Please be in touch. I'd love to know what everybody else is doing as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, we will go ahead. If there's not any other questions, we will go ahead and close the presentation. Just give a couple more minutes just in case. Okay, I think I see the numbers going down in the room.
Yep.
So
okay, thanks so much for your help, Beth. I really appreciate it.
Great presentation.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.